Hi, I'm Lisa Valencia. I moved to Costa Rica from the United States about 2 years ago, and I'm here to tell you my story. I've done a little bit of traveling, and I love traveling, and I love other cultures. A few years ago, I went to Mexico and got a taste of the Latin culture and fell in love with it. I love the language, I love the music, love the food in Mexico, and decided to branch out and see some more. I had some friends from Montana, which is where I'm from, who lived in Puerto Viejo in the Caribbean in Costa Rica. And when my kids were just old enough, they were just out of school, I thought I want to take them to see another country, kind of third world, or to see a different world than the United States. We went to visit my friends in Puerto Viejo, stayed there for a month, and then I got back to the United States in a situation where my kids were grown and out of the house. I had my own business, but I didn't have to really continue with that life. I wanted to change. I wanted to do something different. I wasn't tied to raising my kids. I'd been a single mother and raised them and done all that for years, but I wasn't tied to that anymore. I wanted something new. It was a big change, and it was what I call my vida nueva, my new life. I had learned a little Spanish over the years, being in Mexico a few times, and taught myself a little bit on my own, so I knew enough just to get around, to find the restaurant, to find the bathroom, and find the hotel and that kind of thing. It was a little bit intimidating because I was doing it all on my own. When you travel alone, you meet people you'd never meet before. Opportunities come up. I've learned so much, I've grown so much, I've gained so much confidence. And not only that, I've discovered new hidden talents that I had that I didn't know about, and started a new career. I came to Costa Rica with the idea of starting a new life, having a new lifestyle. I love the tropics, I love the ocean, I love the people, and it was very important to me that my work was harmonious with my lifestyle. I didn't want to be living that fast-paced life that we tend to live in the United States. And I wanted to have time to contribute to others, to give to society, to get involved with the people and the culture. I am not old enough to retire and get a pension or anything like that. I have a little income from my property, which I rent out back in Montana, but not quite enough to live on. Almost enough, because I can live quite moderately. In the States, I worked as a mural artist and an interior designer, and I had a window covering business. I had a little money with me when I came down, enough to buy a car, and with, a few $1,000s left over. However, on my way from San Jose out to the Caribbean, the top to my little convertible was stolen, and all my clothes, and so some of the money that I had set aside just to get started went into replacing what was stolen. It's important to remember that, because you need a cushion. You need to have that little extra money. You never know what might happen. My plan was to do some artwork, maybe travel around Costa Rica, and just go wherever I could to get artwork, doing murals and that kind of thing. That's what I've done all my life. It turned out that there just wasn't going to be enough work in the Caribbean for me to make the money I needed to make. And a friend of mine suggested, why don't you teach English? I went to a local hotel and presented them with the idea, and they asked me my experience, and I said I had none. I'd had education courses in college, but I've never taught. But I thought I could do it. They said, okay, give it a try. And for 4 months I taught English for the hotel employees. It all went well, but the income still was not so good. and I went back to the States for the second time without much money. This isn't going to work. I've got to do something else. I need more money. At least $5,000 in the bank as a cushion, plus be very certain of my rental income, plus have some more income that's going to be coming in monthly. During the year and a half, or almost 2 years, that I'd been in Costa Rica, was that I was writing travel journals. Just about every month or so, writing about my experiences and taking photos, and put them on a website online so it would be easy to show my friends back in the States what I was doing and how it was all going. People began to write to me, strangers, people I didn't know, were writing and saying how much they loved reading my stories. People kept saying, "Lisa, you should write a book." While I was in the States, I took my travel journals and made them all into a book and put them for sale on my website as an audiobook and an ebook. It was a lot of fun to do, and I've been selling them, and people seem to enjoy them. I got a lot of compliments, a lot of good feedback about that. Although that gives me a little money, certainly not enough to live on, then what am I going to do next? As I wrote my book, or as I turned my travel journals into a book, I relived all my experiences here, good and bad, and I found that I really missed it. I missed the wonderful people I've met, and the beautiful country, the beach, everything. So at that point, I became determined to come back. Lots of people ask me what it's like to come to a foreign country, Costa Rica, as a single woman. And I guess my short answer would be, it's been lots of fun. But, you know, there's two sides to it. There's more than two sides to that story. The reason I did it is because, well, I've been single quite a bit of my life. I raised my kids alone. I've had boyfriends over the years off and on, and I've been married twice. You just can't wait for somebody to do something with you in life, or you end up sitting around waiting for who knows how long. If you're going to do something with your life, you just got to get out there, jump in, and do it. Now, my first week when I came down here, I took a Spanish immersion class through in Heredia, through a school called Intercultura. In their immersion, you stay with a Tico family who doesn't speak any English. It gave me a place to land, a place to be and live and feel secure while I got my bearings and found out who I have to talk to buy a car, and where am I going to live, and what am I going to do. It was great because I was staying with a Tico family. This particular family the mother was a few years older, just a few years older than me, and had 3 kids who lived at home who were young adults. So she and I had something in common because my kids were similar ages. She helped me to understand more about their world and about their culture. She basically thought I was kind of crazy for leaving my family. She couldn't really understand why I would do that. And I got to see how close Costa Rican families are. Every Sunday, the kids and their boyfriends and girlfriends and everybody comes over and spends the whole day, and they have dinner together every single Sunday. That's not the way things are generally in the States. And I asked my kids, do you feel like I was a bad mother? Do you feel like I abandoned you? And both of them said, no. My son's 24 and my daughter's 20. Both of them said, no, Mom, we want you to do what means something to you, what's important to you. So I felt a little bit better. What I found was that there were times that I felt helpless. There were times that I felt lonely and thought, man, it would be so nice to have someone else to help me figure out this problem, or to talk to the car mechanic who speaks no English. But I got through them. I got through them all and ended up feeling stronger and more confident in everything I did. Another question people ask me is, what's it like to come down as a single woman regarding men? And there is, the Latin men do have a reputation of being womanizers and maybe not necessarily being so respectful. But I'll tell you, I have not had any bad experiences at all. I have not had a Tico boyfriend, and the reason for that is, I suppose, because I'm very particular. But I think the Latin men are wonderful. I think they're charming. I love salsa music and I love dancing, and even when, you know, the most humble little guy can get on the dance floor, all of a sudden he looks like Antonio Banderas, and you feel like you're Jennifer Lopez dancing with him. So there is a charm in the Latin culture that I don't know, I haven't seen anywhere else that I really enjoy, and part of that is the charm of the Latino men. I think, as in anything else, you have to use discretion. You have to be careful. I've heard of people being taken advantage of, but I've heard of it happening in the States too. It can happen anywhere, really. In talking to my daughter, with her experience having a Costa Rican boyfriend who is, he's black, he's a Caribbean, which is a unique culture in Costa Rica, Afro-Caribbean, descending from Jamaican. There are differences in the culture, and that causes communication differences. Now, they both speak English, but there are still communication differences, there are misunderstandings, and there are just expectations that one person has of the other, which come from the culture they live in. There's a lot you need to learn about the Costa Rican culture before you can get involved with someone in that culture, in a romantic way, in a close way. And I suppose that's one reason maybe I'm taking my time. I'm really getting to know the culture. I will never be a Tica. I could never look like a Tica. I have friends that, you know, speak Spanish well enough they could pass for one. Not me, and I'll never try to be. But I want to understand them, I want to be friends, I want to enjoy them and enjoy the culture. So learning Spanish is a big part of that. And I think just acceptance of people as they are. When I was teaching English, it gave me some great opportunities to learn Spanish. Learning Spanish is not only about learning words and conjugating verbs. It's about expressions. It's about the way the words are used. That you can only really learn by being around Costa Ricans, by being with people that don't speak English or are choosing only to speak Spanish with you, and gleaning whatever you can and just working on learning. And as you learn more about the culture. I feel, looking back on it now, I feel like I was scared of everything. I was so nervous most of the time, and worried, and trying to plan things and figure things out. And of course I learned really quickly that as much as I tried to plan anything, the plans, you know, go awry. Something happens. I used to say this was the country where Murphy's Law was invented. Eventually, I let go of control, stopped trying to make plans, started just accepting the things that were coming my way and relaxed. And then it was when I began to understand a little more of the Tico lifestyle. Because they're not type A personalities motivated to just get everything done so fast like we are, many of us are in the United States. So you have to relax and find a way to discipline yourself not to worry and not to have everything figured out. And then it's when you can feel like you're starting to live and starting to really enjoy being here. Another thing lots of people ask me about, and it's a good question, is safety and security. And I was warned. In fact, in my book I talk about how if I listened to all the warnings people gave me when I first came to San Jose, I probably would hide under a table and stay there until somebody came and put me on a plane to get out of there. Of course, it's important to listen to warnings and to to take them into consideration. You can't worry about everything, but you do have to be careful. Where I came from in Montana, I lived for 20 years and did not have to lock my door. I didn't have to worry about my kids running around town. They were always safe. So it was a big change. That was a big part of the culture shock for me. Although I was aware of it before I came. It wasn't a surprise, and I think you need to be aware of that. In Central America, there's a lot of poverty. And when there's poverty, people steal. So you have to take care of yourself. In San Jose, I was very careful. I was staying in a place that had security for my car. There were gates, there were bars on the windows, all of that. I didn't go out at night. I was very, very careful. When I left San Jose to go out to the Caribbean, I decided I would take the scenic route, go down through Cartago, and visit Orosi, this pretty little small town that I fell in love with. What happened was I totally let my guard down. I thought, oh, this is just a beautiful little bedroom kind of a town. Nobody's going to bother me here. I found a hotel, and the clerk at the hotel said, oh, sure, your car's fine right out on the street. I had most of my important stuff, like my computer and all, in my security trunk in the back of my car that nobody could get into. But I had a huge bag of clothes in the car and a few other things, some binoculars and all my CDs. And I didn't cart them all the way up the hill to my room because the clerk said it would be fine. The next morning, I looked down and the top of my car is gone. I was beside myself. I just about rolled down, flew down that hill to my car, and of course the stereo was gone. Everything that was in the car, except of course in the back, was gone. They didn't even try to get into the security trunk, so that was a good thing. I had to get myself back to San Jose before the rain started, which was around 1 in the afternoon, and find somebody somewhere to buy a new top for my car. And my Spanish was marginal at that point, and I was just totally freaked out. That was probably the most difficult experience for me, but that was also kind of a breakthrough experience. I had to drive back to San Jose, including driving through the city with people all around, totally vulnerable, with no top on my car. And I just told myself, I can do this. I convinced myself I could do it. And actually that became the theme for my book that I wrote later, which is called If She Can Do It, So Can I, because I had so many experiences of needing to convince myself that I could do it. And once I convinced myself, and there was just no question about it, I did it. And afterwards, I was proud of myself, and that much stronger. That really did teach me that you have to watch your back no matter where you go, even if it's in a sweet little town where you think nothing will happen. When I was told don't trust anybody, that's impossible. You can't live life without trusting people, but you have to use discretion. And you may trust someone to sit down and have a cup of coffee with them, but you may not trust them to give them your laptop to watch for the day. So you just have to use discretion. And it's not that difficult. It's not that hard to figure out. Again, confidence is so important. So as far as security is concerned, and all the other things, the logistical things you have to deal with in living in Costa Rica, basically it just comes down to using common sense. I think determination and belief in yourself are very important, and then if you want to do it, you will, and you'll get it figured out, even if it seems really crazy at times. When I was having my experiences, the difficult ones, the challenging ones, I looked at my past life for inspiration, and I looked at things I've done, I've accomplished, and said, wow, I did that, so I could do this. Then I looked at other people's experiences too, and in writing it, my book became an inspiration for other people who could look at my experience and say, okay, I see how she did that. Okay, that's a little more understandable, and if she could do it, so can I. And that's what I want to convey. That's what I want to get across. There's no magic formula. It's just determination, belief in yourself, and if I could do it, so can you.